In previous lessons, we say the typical uses of augmented sixth chords. In those lessons, you learned that all augmented sixth chords are based on an augmented sixth interval. In the typical resolution of an augmented sixth chord, the augmented sixth interval from lay to fi in solfege resolves with both notes leading to sol. In the key of C, lay is A flat, and fi is F sharp. This augmented sixth interval will resolve outward, with A flat moving to G, sol, and F sharp also moving to G, sol. Since all augmented sixth chord types, Italian, French, and German, are based on this interval, they all contain this resolution of an augmented sixth interval outward to an octave. While the typical augmented sixth interval resolves to sol, or scale degree 5, it is possible to use augmented sixth intervals that resolve to any other scale degree. This example is still in the key of C, but this augmented sixth interval includes D flat and B. These two notes will resolve outward to C, or scale degree 1. Let's now determine some augmented sixth intervals that resolve to degrees other than 5. This example is in the key of D major. We need to determine the augmented sixth interval that leads to scale degree 2. This note is an E. Since we know that both notes of the augmented sixth interval will resolve to E, scale degree 2, we can begin by notating an octave from E to E. This gives us our two notes of resolution. If we find the note a half step above the lower E, which is F, we have the lower note of the augmented sixth interval. Next, we will find the note that is a half step below the upper E. This is D sharp. So F to D sharp is the augmented sixth interval that leads to scale degree 2 in the key of D. It is important when determining the notes of the augmented sixth interval that they are not the same letter names as the notes of resolution. For example, D sharp could be written as E flat, but E flat uses the same letter name as the E note. Let's try another example. This example is in the key of A flat. We need to determine the augmented sixth interval that leads to scale degree 6. This is an F note. Since we know that both notes of the augmented sixth interval will resolve to the F, scale degree 6, we can begin by notating an octave from F to F. This gives us the two notes of resolution. If we find the note that is a half step above the lower F, which is G flat, we have the lower note of the augmented sixth interval. Next, we will find the note that is a half step below the upper F, which is E. So G flat to E is the augmented sixth interval that leads to scale degree 6 in the key of A flat. Let's summarize. The augmented sixth interval in an augmented sixth chord typically leads to sol, scale degree 5. Augmented sixth intervals can resolve to other scale degrees. To determine the augmented sixth interval that leads to any note, notate the note of resolution as an octave. Next, determine the note that is a half step above the lower note and the note that is a half step below the upper note.